Dun, 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 dun.
At first glance, this sounds like a very familiar plotline to other films that I've seen, especially the last couple of years and recently. However, upon deeper inspection, because it's a very long synopsis that we're going to read, it actually has a bit of a broader canvas, and I like the sounds of it. I love the name, by the way, Indemnity. It's not a word I hear very often, but hey, it makes for an interesting title. This is coming out from Magnolia Pictures and Magnet Releasing, a studio that, or I think a distributor that I've looked at before, and I've been endeared to some of their work in the past. Let's go ahead and see how this one fares. In terms of cast members, I didn't recognize many names at first glance. That's totally fine. I love introducing myself to new talent out there. And from my perspective, Magnolia Releasing, I don't know how big their reception is, or Magnolia Pictures. I always get the names mixed up. Magnet Releasing, Magnolia Pictures, they're joined together in terms of the brand, at least on their YouTube channel. So I'm not sure, again, what their reception is, but hopefully the film does well if it does show promise. Again, the synopsis, I see shades of that. The director and I believe writer in this case, Travis Tout. Actually, let me see for a second. Director and writer and producer, apparently. He recently did a project, I guess. I've heard of it. I haven't looked at it yet, but Blood and Water. I've heard that name. So obviously he's got some prestigious credits. It's actually quite a roster. Let's go ahead and take a look, though, at what it says according to IMDb for a synopsis. Like I said, this is a bit long, but I think it gives you a good perspective. Theo Abrams is an ex-Cape Town fireman suffering from severe post-traumatic stress disorder, unable to return to work due to the psychological trauma sustained during a failed rescue mission. An increasingly frustrated and volatile Theo's world is rocked when one morning he wakes up next to his wife's murdered corpse, with no recollection of what transpired and all the evidence suggesting that he's killed her. When the police label him as the prime suspect, Theo goes on the run and is soon being hunted by Deputy Chief of Police Alan Shard, a notoriously ruthless soldier of the law who is hell-bent on catching Theo as one last act of service before he officially retires. However, when an unknown third party is thrown in the mix, Theo discovers an alarming connection between the sinister forces hunting him in an attempt to silence him permanently for a reason he can't comprehend, and a recent investigation his wife is conducting into a global armament contractor. When connecting the dots becomes a matter of life and death, Theo becomes embroiled in a desperate fight for survival and must figure out who really murdered his wife before a terrifying conspiracy changes the course of a nation forever. So you read the first initial points to this movie and you're like, okay, this sounds like a story that I've seen before. Not to be, because I personally have a special respect for stories that touch on post-traumatic stress disorder, even though, again, it's an issue that many people, of course, it's a condition that many people know about. I like seeing it showcased within media, because it does, introduce people to at least the severity of what a life like that looks like, especially when it entails the trauma that follows. And I'm assuming that the failed rescue mission references like a war front. So again, this is a very common theme. Not to say that's bad, I'm just saying it's one that you see quite often. And in fact, the next part as well, I've also seen, who hasn't seen movies about people that are falsely accused of murder and then have to go clear their name, especially when it pertains to a marital relationship. In fact, recently there was a film I looked at, actually it was a little longer than about, I think, a year ago, but it was a TV movie that was sort of, again, the opposite of that, where it was the husband that was killed and then the wife was accused. Not to as dire circumstances, though. So again, the last couple of steps, I read that longer synopsis because I think it shows you how this film is a bit different in terms of the broad approach. There's a little more going on than just, I'm assuming, past soldier or someone struggling with PTSD, falsely accused of murder, in that case, murdering his wife. But then you got the fact that his wife seemed to be maybe running in clandestine and possibly troublesome circles of bad actors that were looking to do some damage, and that this is like a global issue. So again, stakes have been largely elevated. But let's go ahead though and take a look at Indemnity and see maybe the broadness. This is a lot of elements to juggle here, but we'll see how effective the balance is in terms of the project, maybe from a trailer perspective. And of course, this will better materialize when we look at the film, or we watch the film on our own. But I think it's got potential. Because at first you're like, well, this sounds like a very familiar plot, but then you read all of that information and you're like, this could be quite compelling. We're going to go ahead and watch the main trailer, and I believe the only trailer for this first, and we'll talk about it more in my condensed review segment. For us watching the video together, it comes out really soon on well, the Magnolia Pictures and Magnet Releasing channel says this is going to be available everywhere, pretty much. So I would imagine digital, physical media. I would imagine also possibly streaming options, maybe Tubi or YouTube even. I have no idea. But it's going to be available everywhere February 11th. So the release date's coming up pretty quickly. Let's go ahead, though, and take a look at Indemnity. Without further ado, here we go. Let me get it rolling. Okay. Okay, firefighter service. Yeah, I can see how post-traumatic sort of play a part in that.
How things?
I know stories, in fact.
You know my hands are tied until sight clears you.
People personally
How
that have been in that
is anyone
situation.
supposed to help you if you won't help yourself?
Theo, babe.
I'm assuming from that newspaper headline, someone that he knew passed away. That could be tragic.
Theodore Abrams. When our units arrived, we found his wife had been murdered. Theo was arrested as a prime suspect, but he has since escaped custody. Killing 4 of our men, the man is an impressive target.
Wow.
What is going
Definitely dire
Someone try to
stakes.
kill me, Moses.
So is that a police officer or was that like another firefighter? But obviously he's got a trusted friend, and I'm assuming his former professional or somebody he knows.
Iemand dra my te vry.
Al wat ek moet doen is druk hierdie knoppie en jy is geaktiveer.
Hoe bedoel je geactiveerd?
He's got a sci-fi edge too.
Dis briljant. Die toekoms van oorlogvoering.
Oh, okay. So this is the global conspiracy thing. It's whatever this technology is. I'm imagining. Good explosion sequences. The fight choreography is mixed for me. That last shot was good. And again, like I said, there's a lot of elements to juggle here. It looks like a well-done film. Again, with a lot of seriousness in terms of the project. The PTSD, I think, is depicted very well for at least a small semblance of what we see here. Hang on a second. Let me go back through here. So again, like I said, I was wrong. It wasn't the wartime front. It's on in the fire service. I know a story personally. I mean, again, I can see how PTSD plays a part, probably from someone I know who is not or wasn't in the firefighting occupation, law enforcement actually. But in this case, both were involved in the situation. And without going into too much detail, this person who, I will tell you, is probably one of the most upstanding law enforcement people that I know. Many of the ones that I know personally, especially this one I know in particular, he's a very good man and really respectable in that occupation. But he had a story that it broke me. Now, again, like I said, bit of a different situation, but intertwined with the fire side. He got a call, if I remember right, to a local house in the area that he works, and the house was on fire. 2 people were trapped inside, and he gets there. And this is the type of person who, you know, push comes to shove or whatever, he will rush in regardless, and he will try and save people's lives. He will try and fix the situation in whatever way is needed. He will just be the first person to go. He's very headstrong in that way. It's a complementary element to his character. It really is. But in that situation, he was told by the fire department to hold back because conditions for him going into that house would have been unsafe. Again, the house is in flames. I mean, I don't know the severity, but other than it sounds like, again, it was pretty much on the edge of just falling apart. If he had run in unprotected, you know, that'd be another life lost. But for him, I mean, this was heartbreaking when I heard about this, but the family, or the 2 people that were in that house, unfortunately, died through the fire. And this person that I know had, because again, just the conditions of the burning building, had to literally stand there. This is how horrifying this was. I mean, I've sat there and tried, because I'm a very emotional person. I tend to empathize with people a lot, and I'm trying to imagine myself in a situation, and it's just such a heartbreaking visual to think of yourself being, you know, wanting to go save lives, and being told by, you know, other professionals and people working within those capacities that if you were to do that, you'd be putting yourself at risk, and we can't, you know, we can't let you do that. To then be forced to stand there and literally listen to 2 people burn to death. That, I cannot imagine that thought. And I will tell you, that person that I know, yeah, that was not an easy situation. I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to diagnose this individual, but I do know that it was very hard on him, as it would be for anybody. So I could certainly see how perhaps a fire-related situation might bring about a result of PTSD. Although in this case, it seems to be... Well, in this case, someone does die, I believe, because at least the suggestion from this newspaper clipping is a local firefighter died in shack fire. Or local firefighters, maybe? The flames burning right where the S would be, but the way the article is cut, it looks like it could easily... Well, maybe it could be local firefighter. But then it would say local firefighter dies, so it would be local fighters die, because that's in the plural form. So obviously multiple people that perhaps he knows and works with, maybe a brother, there's a woman down there, maybe like a sister in terms of that type of dynamic within, in the firefighting occupation. That would probably break anyone. It's like losing family, especially, I don't know how many years that his character served on the job for the sake of the story, but I would imagine, again, that not being easy toll. And you add to that the layer as well of the fact that they've also immersed this story about his wife being murdered. Maybe that's sort of the... Because you see, at least initially in the first couple of shots where he's burning that newspaper clipping, who is it giving aid to him? It looks like his wife. And in many situations where if somebody that maybe returns back from war, for example, like on the war veteran example, oftentimes it's their partner who has to experience that type of traumatic response firsthand and help them work through it. Whether that be, it's something you've probably seen depicted in other movies before, the heavy sweating and stuff like that, waking up in the middle of the night, feel like you're in a war zone, and a woman has to come in, perhaps, I'm just bringing up like a hypothetical example, but like maybe just rubbing the back and just being like, you're here, you're safe, and whatever, and helping her spouse work through that. So I could see easily how she is sort of his baseline, in a way, to help to restore him in that moment. But then you pull that away from him. I mean, he's definitely in dire circumstances. I mean, I would say for a firefighter, he's certainly got some action training. Good stunt work, at least initially from what I was seeing. Again, it's professionally filmed. I don't know who this is. I'm assuming... I'm going to guess by the shoulder pad, it looks like probably somebody he knows within the firefighting occupation. Maybe a commanding officer. Someone who obviously trusts, feels comfortable enough to tell the situation of what's going on with these people, or chasing him down, trying to kill him. The fight choreography is mixed for me. I like the sequences, at least on the end, and the first one near the fire truck. Like when this other fireman, comes in, maybe never one of these bad actors, maybe somebody who's connected or perhaps has connections to these people, maybe who's getting paid on the side. Could be. I mean, again, these are sort of familiar plot lines I've seen in other movies, so I can see how that plays a part here. But I mean, I think it's a good mixture. This scene's fine. I think it's the middle one that... Let me see. The camera tracks along with like each punch, and it doesn't seem very convincing, because it's like punch here, punch there, and camera follows each one. So rather than it being, I don't know, I think the flow, it just, to me, it comes across a bit too deliberate. Perhaps other people won't come out that way. I think the other fight scenes look good. The explosion sequences look very well done. I like the darker color here to this room too, but it's a beautiful shot, by the way. It looks like it's got potential. I'm interested to see where this technology is. So obviously it's something brain-related. Maybe that's going to play a part in terms of the PTSD storyline with the therapy. I don't know. But then they say, like, it's the future of warfare. Like, this really is like a mixture. Like, he's sort of now, I guess, turning into this... trying to be a good example from, like, a cinematic side. Like, some sort of action enforcer person, for like some like action thriller where someone's gotten some sort of treatment or whatever. Now there's like this superhuman brawler. Like I said, mixtures of different elements. I think there's a lot of strength to this project. Some things maybe could have done it a little better. Like I said, maybe the fight scenes could have been at least appeared a little less choreographed in some regards. I think the majority of them look fine. But I think it's a film with a lot of potential. In terms of balancing of all these different elements, we'll see how well the connective tissue goes in regard to the film when it drops on February 11th, but I think it's a film that has a lot of potential. What do you guys think about Indemnity? Again, I love that name. Feel free to let me know your thoughts are down below. Don't forget all the good stuff, the like, subscribe, and the sharing, that bell. Until we get to watch more, perhaps from Magnolia Pictures Magnet releasing. I don't know if we'll get a trailer for this. We might. I don't know. If there is, I'll look at it. But until I get to watch more, at least from the studio, maybe something else entirely, I will see you guys at whatever point that happens to be. But for now, thanks for watching this video. I love you guys. Don't forget to live your zones over the man. God bless. And peace.